On vaccines, as of 11:59 p.m. last night, 3.5 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine have been administered in New Zealand. I do want to acknowledge that the rate of vaccination in New Zealand has stepped up significantly since mid-July, when we started receiving bigger deliveries of vaccine in New Zealand. We've increased the number of doses administered from around 190,000 per week to around 540,000 per week, an increase of 184% just in the last couple of weeks. 2,290,000 people have now had at least one dose of the vaccine. That's around 54% of the eligible population aged 12 years and over. That means around half of the eligible population have received at least one dose of the vaccine, which is a significant milestone. Of those, 1,200,000 are fully vaccinated with 2 doses, almost a third of the eligible population. Older New Zealanders are showing the way, and I want to acknowledge that. We did start with older New Zealanders first in our general population rollout. More than 85% of people aged 65 plus have now been vaccinated with at least one dose. Using our older Kiwis as an example, that does pose a challenge to younger generations to come forward and receive your vaccinations at least the equivalent rate of that. We do still have a challenge around ethnicity and around ensuring we're reaching into all of our communities. Around 37% of the Māori population have had at least one dose of the vaccine, and around 47% of the Pacific population have had at least one dose of the vaccine. In terms of full vaccination, the rates sit at around 19% for Māori and around 26% for Pacifica. That suggests that we still have an ethnicity challenge, although I want to acknowledge that for both of those communities the age profile is younger, so they would have been underrepresented in some of the older age groups. We have seen bookings surge in recent times as New Zealanders take up the opportunity to book in for their vaccine. The highest date on record so far was the 25th of August, when more than 250,000 people booked their appointments. We expect to see another surge in coming days as that larger population group is able to book in. There are around 1.9 million future bookings in Book My Vaccine. Some people might ask why we talk so much about future vaccines. It's important because it recognises the commitment that New Zealanders are making to play their part in the vaccination campaign. 68% of New Zealanders in the 12 plus age bracket are either booked or have had a vaccination. And that gap has come down, that number's come down a little bit in recent days because we've just added the latest population cohort in there. If you look at older age groups, it's actually 79% of New Zealanders aged 30 plus who are either booked or have had a vaccine. That suggests that New Zealand's on track to achieve a good high rate of vaccinations because we know that not everybody will have yet booked in, and so I encourage people to make sure that they are booking in. 83% of those aged over 40 have either booked in or have received at least one dose of the vaccine. So thank you to New Zealanders for coming forward, making your bookings and getting your vaccines. That is really important in our fight against COVID-19, and I encourage everybody to take up the opportunity. Vaccinations are one of the most powerful tools we have against COVID-19. They are completely free and they are safe. The highest possible uptake is the best way for us to get back to a greater sense of normality and then of course stay there. So people should reserve their spot at bookmyvaccine.nz. If they've got questions or they need help making a booking, they can call the vaccination helpline 0800 28 29 26. A few words on managed isolation. I do want to acknowledge that the pressure that our managed isolation system has been under in recent weeks. MIQ is one of our key lines of defence to keep COVID-19 out of our community, and they've done an incredible job of that. Over 168,000 New Zealanders have come back into the country through our MIQ facilities very safely with very few incidents, and I want to acknowledge the dedication of the team who are running those facilities. We do have a current challenge in accommodating those positive cases in our community and those who cannot isolate safely at home. As a result of that, we have repurposed, or are in the process of repurposing, 2 further facilities to use for quarantine and for isolation of community cases, in addition to the Jet Park, which has been the mainstay of our efforts in that area so far. That is putting further pressure on the network. We also have further investigations being done, and I'm expecting to receive the results of those in the next 24 hours, of the Crown Plaza to ensure that we have isolated any risk there before anyone further is put into the Crown Plaza for isolation purposes. It has been a really important part of our MIQ network, and I do want to acknowledge that, and we're making sure that we have that facility as tight as possible before we put anyone further into it. All of this means it's unavoidable that for now we have had to extend the pause on releasing any further MIQ vouchers for a few more weeks to ease pressure on the system. That means that there are no vouchers available to be booked through the voucher website at the moment. I acknowledge that that is not easy for New Zealanders abroad who are looking to come home. We do need to be able to isolate current COVID-19 cases in the community and their close contacts safely in order to bring the entire of New Zealand back to a greater sense of normality as quickly as possible. That has to be our priority, and that is one of the reasons why we're asking Kiwis abroad to play their part in this response by being patient. I acknowledge that that is a very challenging thing to ask of them. I do want to stress that the pause on releasing further vouchers does not pause emergency allocations. New Zealanders who are in desperate need to come home urgently can still make an application for an emergency allocation. We are working to defer where we can group bookings coming in, and that includes deferring some of the regional seasonal employment workers who were due to be coming in over the course of this coming month, so that we can again further ease pressure on our MIQ system. When we do release the next range of vouchers, and I hope to have more to say on that in the next week or two, people will note that the booking system will operate differently to the way that it has operated previously. When we release large numbers of vouchers, large room releases, we will be foreshadowing that in advance of the vouchers being released, and we will be introducing a virtual lobby booking system. The lobby is a virtual queue. It will mean that people can be selected from the queue randomly, removing the need for people to be the fastest person to hit the button. It will not fix the overall issue of supply and demand. We still have more demand than we have supply available, and in periods of high demand, it is still going to be the case that we won't have rooms for everybody that wants to come home. But this change will make bookings more transparent and easier for people, and it will create a more level playing field for people once they're on the website. Once all the rooms have been taken, the lobby will be closed, and anybody in the queue will be informed that they have unfortunately missed out this time. We will then continue to announce large room releases so that people will know when to come back, and we will look to use the virtual lobby again, taking on board any lessons that we have to learn from the first use of the lobby, which will be the next significant booking release. And I hope to have more to say on the timing of that release as soon as I can, but as I've indicated, there won't be any vouchers released in the next week or two.